Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching The Breakfast Show with Dina Hussein and myself, Mohammed Abdurrahim. And time now to discuss our main topic for this morning. It is TCAT 7, the Tokyo International Conference on African Development, which is being held under the theme of promoting African development through people, technology and innovation. This conference is being co-chaired by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Egypt, the head of the rotating AU presidency, and of course the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Time now to welcome here in our studio is our dear guest. He is Engineer Mostafa Wali, who is the former advisor for the chairman of the Egyptian Japanese Business Council, and also the former general manager of the Federation of Egyptian Industries. Engineer Wali, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Doctor. And let's first talk about the importance of TCAT as in general.
Well, the importance of TCAT is coming from the concept and the objective of this conference and the activities behind it, and across long time of cooperation between Japan and Africa in general, and specifically Egypt. Well, these are really, first of all, these are really very good days for us, the whole situation, President Sisi just, went directly to attend this meeting after a very big meeting also concerning
in France
concerning the G7, which used to be G8 before anyway. But for us to be there, I mean, it's our president, and with Egypt name is going around, echoing on the stage of the international arena concerning not only Egypt, it's also our continent, Africa. So that's very important. I'm very, very optimistic. I feel pleased actually, because those who knows what's behind should be proud of it, and let's hope that it will culminate in good results. Back again to TCAT. Japan, well, everybody knows what's Japan, but for us, I mean for Africa, it could be a beacon concerning industry, concerning technology, concerning modernity, a lot of things, very important things. Africa in general needs it. And Japan has its specific culture when it comes to dealing with other nationalities and all this. So if we get to what's going on the ground, we'll find that long ago, Japan was interested in Africa. And I wouldn't say also that mainly Egypt, because it's true. A lot of Japanese institutions have been established in Egypt since early 50s, by the way, which now is getting to be more than 70 years. And across and along the time of cooperation between Egypt and Japan, there was a lot of success stories when it comes to joint venture, when it comes to industry, when it comes to building, when it comes even to culture. If you look at, for example, the Opera House, which was built, and is a very famous bridge which is crossing Suez Canal, Salam Bridge. So, well, actually, when you talk about Japan and you know about Japan, you see that there is a very high potential that a lot can be done in cooperation with Japan.
Right. Engineer Wali, of course, this conference comes with the support of the United Nations Development Programme, the UNDP, yes, the African Union, where Egypt holds the rotating presidency, as well as the World Bank. So, can you talk to us about what do you think of the sponsorship and the support and participation of the UNDP and the World Bank in such a conference, and the significance of that?
Well, talking about UNDP, of course, it's one of the most formidable bodies of the United Nations across its history, by the way. And its main task, of course, concerning development. And development is in the third world, in general. Egypt was and still making a lot of cooperation with UNDP. and with very good record actually across many areas of cooperation. And meanwhile, when you look at Japan's interest in doing business, it goes directly through its own institutions like JICA, for example. But in the meantime, they can get together with UNDP and other UN institutions. So you can increase the possibility and the range of cooperation with these two bodies. And while they are there, I mean, Japan is there already. She is sponsoring. She is the sponsor of this meeting and this conference. And UNDP, and I mean, as an very important organization of United Nations, is there. Plus the World Bank. So the whole package means that, okay, there is a will. At least we see now that there is a will to cooperate and to help Africa.
Right. Yes.
Oh, please, thank you. Of course, the TCAD summit is of great importance in its own right to Africa, because it could be a platform to Africa in the sense that it could be mobilizing resources to develop the continent, a value that could double after the launch, of course, of the executive phase of the African continent free trade zone. That was established during the extraordinary African Union Summit in July in Niger. Yeah. So what is your insight when it comes to that front?
Talking about mentioning now this unified, let's say, the unified currency and unified trade, you know, this that was the objective actually. If this will get a real progress on the ground, it will give a very good sign for all the international and, you know, bilateral, I mean, based on country, I mean, like Japan with Africa, as a country versus, or together with the continent, in our case is Africa. So if we are lucky enough that such initiatives are materialized or at least is getting in progress, this will increase the pace of cooperation and achievement on the ground. I'm very optimistic that this can happen. Let's hope. But you know, all of us, we should know that unless we have real peace and real security and normal situation in general in the whole continent, the effect will be not that strong.
And that's why this is one of the topics being discussed there at the conference.
Yes.
Absolutely. Engineer Wali, the conference is under the theme promoting African development through people, innovation, and technology.
Yes.
So talk to us about the three important elements: people, innovation, and technology.
We should start with people, because people is always, they are the ultimate and they are the start, you know, because without people, and it's for the people, without people, then you don't. Okay, but people in this case means to develop the people. Developing people, and I mean, let's talk now the business, or not the business, you know, the right words, you know, using the right terminology, the human resources. Mobilizing and developing the human resources is the basic. Now it's the basic, because nothing can substitute this. Because even you can have the best technology, unless you have a qualified human to capture it, to get it, and deal with it, to utilize it, then nothing is there. So first is the human. And the Japanese, actually, I mean, Japanese culture in general, human is very essential element in this. Then that's for granted in the priority in this sequence is okay. The second is innovation. Innovation, because innovation always proves to be achievable if you have the brains and the capacity and the will to get out of the box in general. I mean, when it comes to industry, technology, you know, art. So if we prepare the ground for the people to grasp the concept of innovation, because it's really complicated, because you cannot innovate out of nothing. There should be a basic thing. I mean, you can't be, for example, I'll give you a very specific example. Unless you are aware of the basics of the IT, information technology, you cannot build up, you know, or innovate in this field unless you have the basics. So what is needed now in most of our countries, I mean most of the developing countries, including African countries, is motivating people, developing people to capture the basics. And I remember there was a very important initiative a few years ago to make the computers, especially the little ones, you know, the handy ones, available in price and quantity for the African people. This was an initiative by one of the people, you know, one of the tycoons of IT. So that's when it comes to innovation. There is a chance, yes, there is a chance. We are developed compared to a lot of African countries. That's not bragging, it's true. So we can build on this, and of course this will spill over on Africa. And right now, I'm talking about this issue because this is the green field, actually.
Right.
The IT
and there needs to be an appropriate atmosphere as well, I guess, environment,
of course.
An appropriate environment for the innovation to
yes.
To
and what
occur.
was the third?
Technology.
Technology. It comes, of course, with that.
Yeah.
I mean, this will lead to that.
And it's naturally that Japan would be supporting this,
of course,
or sponsoring this.
Japan is a very big story, and when it comes to development, I mean innovation and
technology, naturally.
Right, Doctor, we're talking about a summit that has gravity, that has importance, that has ambitions also at the same time. Several heads of states are attending, entrepreneurs, and also figures, public figures, and world leaders. They're going to discuss files that are related to sustainable development. And when we talk about the 17 goals of sustainable development, African security and development and partnership is one of the most important files when it comes to sustainable development.
Yeah.
If you would like to elaborate over the outcome of this gathering that is hosting this bouquet of world leaders that could come to the best interest of the African continent?
Well, generally, the interest and the concern and the will of the leaders of Africa to seize such a chance to be there and to push for more cooperation. And luckily for us and for Africa that we are sharing there with our, of course, old relation and developed relation with Japan across long time, and with real achievement on the ground. In this case, concerted effort and cooperation, let's say on African country basis, and then together in form of organizational with Japan. This will work. The only thing is that, as you mentioned, there should be the will and the determination to go after this. Let's hope that this summit or this conference will yield in a very tangible, quite tangible and clear recommendation, and even a plan, a short plan or whatever, you know, such a plan to cover as much as possible concerning the issues and the areas, and I mean regional wise.
Right.
I'm very optimistic that they should go, they should reach such thing.
Right. Engineer Wali, of course, also one of the features of the TCAT summit is a focus on supporting a cooperation naturally between Japan and African countries, Egypt being the gateway to Africa, again the president of the rotating AU presidency, especially in economic transformation and improving the business environment. So I want to talk about these 2 points, economic transformation and business environment. Can you talk to us about these two elements?
Yes, if you talk about economic, more or less this is a little bit unclearly defined subject, because it can have a lot.
It's huge, it's
but
very
anyway,
wide.
But anyway, if you look at it, that you are talking about the business environment where economy thrive, that's it. We can set an excellent example for this. I mean Egypt, because now we are open for investment. We are seeking for investment. We are the gate to Africa. The success when it comes to show that the business environment is essential for the economic thrive and economic development this will lead by example to a lot of things. Plus, you can have your role actually, which will help you in of course, you know, in penetrating new markets for yourself, for Egypt in Africa. So, in this sense, if we look at the economic development, what's
the business environment and economic transformation.
If it's not that. But exactly, you can say something. This is applied, already was applied to Japan itself. Right now, they have a very nice term. It's personal, because, you know, it's Mr. Shinzo Abe is the prime minister. Then they have now what you call Abeconomy. That's referred to him.
Right.
Because he have some slogans, Mr. Abe, you know, and it worked over the years. And that's why they label this economy. And most of them has to do with what we are saying. He liberated a lot of Japanese economic figures, features when it comes to investments and dealing with the world. It worked. So it's there. I mean, so in this case, you know, the terminology.
Yes, business or economic transformation.
Change, transformation.
Right.
Right. Of course, this summit is also expected to focus on importance of youth education and youth in general, which is one of the main focuses and priorities for the Egyptian leadership. And we have seen the Japanese experience when it comes in the field of education. The Japanese educational project that was implicated over in a span of like a year or 2 years here in Egypt and several places and governorates, and it was pretty successful. Of course, when it comes to empowering youth and empowering the educational experience in the African continent, it's a great push to sustainable development.
Sure, sure.
In what way? How do you assess the Japanese experience when it comes to this particular front?
Japanese experience when it comes, actually this will directly be manifested in the following. Number one, the skills and the level of the skills of the youth generation in general in Japan, which is actually coming from the best available education in the world. True. This is not exaggeration, because just let me mention this. Around 20 years ago, there was a very big book titled, says that a nation in danger. The danger was that, and this nation was USA, America, was lagging behind Japan when it comes to specific items in the curricula, which was that time mathematics and higher mathematics. Imagine. So this I wanted to show that when we look at the development and the youth, because we are educating youth, and this is our wealth.
Naturally.
And in this case, if you give them the best education, and of course you keep, you know, continuous training and all this, then you will have the main force which we started with, the human capital in this case. So it's essential. It's essential that we have the best education. Their experience in education is really fascinating.
Right.
Right. We're going to go to a short break where we're going to feature the Japanese experience when it comes to sustainable development, and we'll come back to resume the breakfast show, so stay with us.